This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the dawn here on Juma, where there is not a cloud in the sky. It is a beautiful, warm 75 degrees Fahrenheit, 24 degrees Celsius. We're out and about on the tracks of a male leopard who walked straight through camp. So we're going to see if we can maybe track him down. Don't know who it might be, but Trishal is out as well on drive with Impala. Trico is out with Khat at andBeyond Ngala, and we have Mike and Niels out in Inca training Prrivate, as well as Dean and Craig and andBeyond Phinda, and King and BK and Tswalo. And on that note, we welcome you on board your live African safari. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Juma. We found very fresh male leopard tracks coming right out of camp. Who could it be? Who could it be? Who could it be? It's only Tingana who likes to walk through camp like that. He went all the way north last night. Maybe he decided he hasn't seen me yet. If you don't know who I am, my name is Steve, joined by Johan on camera. Always very excited to have you with us. So we're going to be scratching around. I don't think he's very far. I think he's right here. So we're just going to see if he's come out. Don't forget, we are live and interactive. If you have questions, comments, please send them through using the hashtag WildEarth on Twitter, at FC on YouTube, and if you're under the age of 18, get your parents or guardians to send through questions to Kids Questions at wildearth.tv. And if you have not done so already, you can go over to the website and you can submit your questions there, the live safari page. Okay, so he came straight past camp. He walked up next to Yuri's house. If he doesn't come out here, then he's still over there. And he's still over there. I reckon he's very close. Very, very close. The wildebeest were here, were enjoying themselves. Enjoying themselves as much as wildebeest too enjoy themselves. You can just see that by the tracks and the dung. We're going to just check down towards this dam. I'm almost certain that we're going to find whoever left them. Listen, it's been a while since I've found fresh leopard tracks. It's been a while, so yes, we are going to do our best to try and track this fellow down. I'm just going to do a quick little loop down here. Looks like the Impala that when we came out of camp had no idea that he'd even arrived, so I reckon he might still be there. The tracks are so fresh you could almost smell the leopard on them. I don't think he's come down here. I'm going to give this up and go back to exactly where I think he's crouched down in the long grass, waiting. And maybe it's Tingana. I hope it's Tingana. I haven't seen the Duke in goodness knows how long. No reports on the dam cam of a male leopard. Okay, well, it's looking like a peach of a day over here. I wonder what the rest of the property's weather is looking like.
We are also hot on the tracks of a leopard, and there's a jackal in the background calling, which I think also spotted this leopard. Hi everyone, my name is Mike Anderson, behind the camera is Niels, and you're joining us at Ecotraining's Pridelands Conservancy. We're sitting on the very edge of Impala Plains, just left HQ, and we immediately heard some jackals alarming, some monkeys alarming as well. So we came to investigate, and we found this leopard track right over here. And I know it's a leopard track because there's no claw marks. It's very circular, and it has 1, 2, 3 lobes, and it's going in that direction over there. So actually, Willem's just gone up ahead of us just to see if he can scout ahead and see if he can spot anything. So I thought we'd take this opportunity to listen to this jackal. It's quite an amazing call. It's one of my favorite sounds to hear at night. I don't often get to hear it during the daytime, though. Just listen. So that's a black-backed jackal, and they very rarely do that call unless they've spotted something that was dangerous. So I think this leopard has literally just walked past here a few moments ago. So what we're going to do as soon as we leave here is pick up our pace, walk up this road and see where it went. If it's going this way and it doesn't change direction, unfortunately, it's probably going to cross out of Pridelands. Our boundary is only about 200 meters north of us right now. But oftentimes animals follow roads because this area here that you can see all the way down behind us, this is not a road to an animal. This is a game path that takes them from drainage lines to water holes to junctions where they can change direction. So it's actually a great place for an animal to walk, especially now. I mean, you can see this environment around us. It's thick, there's lots of grass, it's covered in dew, there's lots of thorns and spiky things. And so things like a leopard, which needs to stay as quiet as possible in order to hunt effectively and to stalk animals, walking on the road is probably the best course of action for it. I love that call. So that jackal is probably one of a pair, which we actually see here quite regularly. We have a den somewhere here that we've never been able to find. And in fact, even scanning with my binoculars, I can't find this jackal. It's a relatively small animal. But hopefully we'll get to spot it a little bit if it keeps calling. In the meantime, we'll send you over to Trico to say hi.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to andBeyond in Ngala. And as you can see right in front of us, we have some Impala rams. There's another one coming through from the back there. My name is Trico, and behind the camera we have Gert. And I'm so happy that you guys can join us this morning. As you can see, there's another one just came out of the bushes. So now we have 4 Impala rams there. It's quite surprising now because we're moving towards the rutting season. And these guys seem to be hanging around together. And there's no fight as yet. But I think moving towards the next month, I think these guys, they won't be friends at all. So if you can have a look on their horns, okay, you'll notice these groves that I have on their horns. And if you guys can see there, all right. So that is so that when they fight during the rutting season, okay, which is coming now, so that those groves can actually stop each other from causing blows into their heads, which then eliminates number of males, and then, you know, the gene pool around will get affected. They are grooming one another, allo grooming, that's what it's called. And mostly when they're grooming each other, they'll groom one another in those areas that, you know, they can't reach. creatures reek. Absolutely, they are. They look very majestic. And actually, I would say one of my favorite antelopes out here, because quite constantly they are so overlooked. But I think they're just amazing animals. You know, if you get to spend time with them and get to understand them very well, you'll see that they are really, really amazing. So I don't know if you can see, so if you look just below the back foot, okay, just close to the hoof, you'll see there's that black tuft. All right, so that is a gland. It's called a metatarsal gland. So what happens is, for example, if a lion was to come, or a lion had to come, or a leopard had to come, or even hyenas had to come, and they start to chase them, that gland actually expands and comes back, expands and comes back as they run. It releases a lot of scent. And that scent, when they have to regroup again, that's the scent that they follow around to help to regroup. I think for now, while we are still enjoying these impalas, I'm going to send you to our other location.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Tswalu Kalahari, another beautiful Friday morning here. What we have there on your screen is a kabar gosok, one of the smaller birds of prey, just waking up to the morning and sussing out what it can find from beneath himself. My name is Obakeng. And behind the camera, I've got BK doing a very excellent job right there. These birds, I enjoy them so much. A lot of people, because in an area like this, would confuse them with your pale chanting goshawk, which is slightly bigger, not slightly, but significantly bigger than them. They share the same kind of coloration and the stripes or the bars on the chest. But interesting enough, these guys are much smaller, but they would also go for the same kind of prey species, being predominantly other birds, going for doves and so on. Even sometimes birds bigger than themselves when shove comes to push. And also very interesting, from where you're seeing there, they would use these acacias for nesting. I've heard from colleagues saying that there has been migrations being recorded. Personally, I don't know of such, but it would be interesting to see or to witness such. But let's see what he's up to. Bit of personal grooming there. Just waiting for the sun to catch a bit of sun, sunning themselves. As a predator bird, it would be important also that they get a bit of sun on them, as a form of also getting rid of those bacteria that would develop on the skin or on the wings. Sorry for saying skin, on the wings and feathers. Brenda, where do they lay their eggs? These birds are known to be very monogamous, and the females are the ones that are known to construct nests And what will happen is the female would look for these acacias, which predominantly here you get your camel thorn. If they don't use camel thorn trees, they would use your terminalias, which is your silver cluster leaf. Those are the two predominant trees that they would use for nesting, and the female taking charge of making that nest. But being very monogamous birds, you would see almost the two adults taking charge of the nest or of the eggs and making sure that the chicks survive. Usually laying up to 2 eggs, as most predatory birds would do. It's a very common phenomena that predatory birds lay just two eggs, and in most cases, the older chick or the first to hatch, often taking advantage of the other in the form of either tossing it out or grabbing as much food and growing much quicker than the other. And that's how Mother Nature makes sure that at least there's better survival for the other. Very beautiful sun coming just behind the mountains there from us. We're going to be using that light coming through to try and see if we can find any form of cats in the Kalahari, and I will send you over to Trish and a very beautiful property.
Good morning, everybody. I must fully agree with Obi. The light is stunning. It's so wonderful and soft. And even our birds here in the south at Twin Dams are looking glorious. We have the typical water birds, none other than the Egyptian goose and the blacksmith lapwing, to grace us with their presence this morning. Hi, everyone. It's me, Trishala. I've got Impala on camera. And like I said, we're here in the south, and we're hoping to move east, maybe check out Chitwa and see what all those places have to offer. I'm still after elephants having a swim. As you can see, no elephants having a swim right here. It is warming up though, even though it was quite chilly and misty this morning. It is warming up, so I'm hoping by the time we get to Chitwa, nice big dam, we'll get some elephants having a splash about. That would be great. But now here, our Egyptian goose is at the water's edge, enjoying some grass seeds, as well as other little juicy new shoots. They love that. That we're moving towards winter, everything's just softened so nicely. Can you hear these sounds? Beautiful, beautiful. The water is lovely and still very reflective. There's a leadwood tree just across here. And the reflection of which is almost perfect. Look at that. Wow. How pretty. Good morning, Gabby. You're 5 years old. Thank you so much for joining us. You'd like to know how often do Egyptian geese move from dam to dam? They'll do so several times in a day, but sometimes not at all. It all depends on whether they want, if they find something that they like at this dam, maybe there's something they like at another dam. Or maybe there's already a couple of Egyptian geese here and they don't want them at this dam. Then they'll have to go to a different dam. You'll often hear them flying and being quite noisy when they fly, so they can move from dam to dam very easily. I've once seen them fight, Gabby, at a dam because there was already a couple of Egyptian geese, and then another couple flew in, and then there was a big screaming match. They don't really know how to physically fight, but they did shout at each other very much, and then the others had to fly away, and when they flew away, they'd have to go find a different dam. But also, there's so much to a dam. Me.
Beautiful sun rises there. A very bright light, but look at that just coming over the mountain. Golden light again. I mean, yesterday we left you guys with a magical moment there by Piense watering hole with the silhouette of the giraffes and so on. And just as the sun picks over the Corona berg there, wow, look at that. Amazing. Like I said yesterday, these are my favorite times. Just when that light breaks through and just before you lose light in the evening. All the birds are getting active. You can hear the sounds. I'm going to keep quiet a little bit and we listen to them, the doves and so on. I could probably, just from that moment of silence, hear about 5 different birds. Cape turtle dove, your Cape glossy starling, your sociable weavers. Namakwa dove. Beautiful sounds. I'm just gonna go back a little bit here and just see what's happening on these nests. I just got some movement there. Could be wrong. These weaver nests. Yeah. I thought I picked up some movement there. I wasn't too sure what it is, but these are weaver nests, beautifully woven. A very interesting concept about them is when these birds start weaving like this, here in the Kalahari, because our winds predominantly come from the northeast, you would almost guaranteed that these nests will be constructed on the southwestern side. of the tree, obviously blocking the elements, or using the tree to block the elements. And I mean, very neatly done. Done much better than most of the other weavers that you get here. Done much better than your white-browed sparrow weavers. Done more neatly than your sociable weavers that are communal nest birds. Little baskets. Unfortunate that the next year or the next season the same nests won't be used. I think I must have been wrong with that movement, but very, very beautiful. I envy them. I wish I could weave like that. But on that note, we'll send you over to another very beautiful location in Africa.
Our lives are dictated by alarm clocks, traffic jams, constant multitasking, and countless distractions. The wilderness is where many of us feel the most human. On a bushwalk, we become part of the natural landscape. As you step off the vehicle, everything comes alive. As with any risky experience, walking amongst these animals inspires awe and appreciation. Now, it's your turn to go on a bushwalk. Join us from Pride Lands as we slow down our thoughts, put aside our distractions, and reconnect with a place that first taught us how to be human. WildEarth explorer Jenny recently joined Tristan as he broadcast live from Juma.
Awesome to kind of have a guest on board. I'm looking forward to this. This is Jenny.
Hi everyone.
And Jenny is the first of our Ticket to Dream holders.
If you want to go on safari with a WildEarth guide, whilst honing your bush knowledge and of course featuring in one of our shows, then head over to our website.
Literally being with Tristan on the vehicle today has been incredible. It has truly been a dream come true.
Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer and you could be making your first ever on-screen appearance.
I would highly recommend being a part of the Explorer program and being able to be a part of an interactive live drive.
I got into wildlife filmmaking because of a passion for nature and a notion that I could make a difference. Helping others fall in love with nature brings meaning to what I do. It's also a lot of fun. A couple of times per week we receive some very heartfelt messages from viewers telling us about how WildEarth has made a difference in their life, whether it's helped them through a difficult period or simply helped them to reconnect with nature. I think that's why we do what we do.
Beautiful. We're just getting a little bit here. I just want to confirm. It looks like there's some tracks of some cheetah, so it's a little bit difficult for the camera to get to it. But it looks like up ahead we'll be getting into a terrain where the cheetahs have walked. At this point, I cannot confirm if it was the two resident males that we often get or if it's the mother and three, but we are getting somewhere. As I said, I'm really hoping this morning that we actually get something. I'm just gonna try see if I can position the camera in such a way that the viewers can see the track. No, it's too close. Yeah, the light is also tricky because we're driving straight into the light. So I'm gonna just try point it out. Getting off the vehicle now. Look right over there. You can just see, because it's soft sand, you can see the toe right over there coming over. They came from this direction. Just crossing over. So we've got a lead. So far I'm seeing one set. So I'm gonna almost jump the gun and say it would be one of the two males or resident males that we often find around here. We're going to continue further, go that way. There is a watering hole. I'm hoping that's where they were heading. And maybe we get lucky and we get back into the vehicle. Hopefully as we get over this road, we'll see more of the tracks going that way. Fiona, how can you tell if it's a male or female track? Usually with the female, and especially the female that I'm referring to, the mother and three, you would find smaller tracks along where she had walked, and that would confirm it's her, because her youngsters would have smaller feet. But also if you look at the male's tracks, they would be more elongated and broad than the females, because they carry more weight than the females. So size will give you a good indication of male, female. But remember, in the sand would make any track look way bigger than what it originally would be. So you've got to be very, very careful and be sure and look at other elements that can help you eliminate possibilities. So that's what tracking is all about. Tracking, when you track, you always wear it down by eliminating possibilities. You first species, what do you see? Is it three lobes? Do you see the claws? Do you not see the claws? Are you seeing the claws because the soil is soft? Because obviously with cats, when the sand is soft, that sand is going to push that sheath of skin where the nail hides out, and you're going to see a bit of claw marks every now and then. So those are things you consider. How big is it? The front foot versus the back foot, which we call, it's something we call a gait. How big is that gait? What was that animal doing when they were walking? Were they walking slowly? Were they walking quick? Because that will also determine how deep your indentation of the track goes. So it's such an intricate skill, and it's just a pity that tracking today is a skill that we are slowly losing, just because not a lot of people acquire it and it's not being taught. So I like mornings like this where you can just engage and use such a skill. Amazing. So we're gonna keep heading this way. It looks like they crossed over on the block, and see what happens when we get closer towards the water. also the sun is a little bit against me, coming directly in front of me there. So I've got to be very, very careful not to even drive over these tracks at times. How long do treks last? That's a very interesting question. When I first started in the Kalahari, I had a very interesting encounter where you would think a trek is fresh and only to find out it's maybe a day old or so on. So there's a few things to consider with how long a trek would last. The element is your biggest challenge. So when I say the elements, I'm talking of things like the sun, wind, and so on. Is the trek on a well-established game path where it's covered by grass, so the elements are not, the trek itself is not exposed to elements. So those kind of things would determine how long a trek would last. Did it rain? Was there a bit of dew last night and things like that? So you have to really look deep into things like that. Consider what the weather was doing in the last 24 hours, and that would give you a rough estimate of how fresh the trek is. Look at the edges of the trek. Are they sharp? Are they still crisp? If it's for example, if it's a animal that is known to be active during the day, are there any other treks over those treks or under those treks? So those kind of things give you a time frame of what the trek or how old the trek would be. But if somebody got to a place or to a trek, touched it and said, I think an hour or two, I don't know if we've developed such accuracy when it comes to trekking, but we can give a rough estimate and say last night, early this morning, just based on what I've just explained now. But the Kalahari proves at times to be a little bit more difficult than most other places that I've been fortunate enough to work in the sense that sometimes you find a game path that's so well hidden in the grasses and so on that you don't get elements exposed to these treks. So while we still try catch up with these, oh, I see something there. Yeah, crossing over. While we try catch up with these cheetahs, I'm going to be sending you over to another very beautiful location in Africa.
Welcome back, everybody. So we've been looking for this land for quite a while now, and it seems like the tracks that we had earlier on cut into this block here on our right hand side. So I'm just wondering if these animals were hunting, because in this block here there's actually a lot of some few clearings. So I'm just wondering if maybe they attempted to hunt, because earlier on as well we just saw some blue wildebeest, and some impalas as well in that area, a few zebras as well. So they might have been looking to hunt. And also where we're heading, there's a huge waterhole. So I think those places are worth to go have a look, because who knows, maybe they might go there for a drink. I mean, as you can see, this area is very, very thick. If a lion is laying down here, it'll be quite difficult to spot it. I mean, if you can look at the color of the grass, some of the grass is brown in color, or tawnish in color, almost resembles the same colors as the lions. So when you're out here in Africa, you really, really, really have to have a proper look. Sorry, don't think I did copy that. But I believe, Susan, you asked, what do we use to track lions in Ngala? What methods do we use to track lions in Ngala? So, tracking lions usually revolves around tracks and any other signs, like fresh scat that you might see around. And also vocalization, you know, if you can hear a lion vocalizing in a certain or general area, it's worth to go into that area. Maybe while you're a little bit closer by, you can hear them call again. And then maybe you can tell where exactly they are. But with lions, you have to look for fresh tracks, because sometimes you do get tracks that are not fresh, you know, that are 4 or 5 days old. You know, those lions might not be worth to track. So you need tracks that are really, really fresh, and then you stand a chance of finding them. So, and also, I've just seen right in front of us, there's some couple of, for a few buffalo dung around here. But even though that dung doesn't look really, really fresh, but I mean, they could be in this area as well. So also that will be one thing that could attract those lions in this area as well. So also, I'm just hoping that these lions, you know, they'll be moving because it's still cool. I mean, the sun is just starting to come up. And when it's cool like this, they tend to, you know, be a little bit active. But while we head to this waterhole, I'm going to send you to Trish. I think she's on a bumble.
Trico, that's my plan too. I am heading towards Buffelsik Dam. We are going to go to Chitwa, but we'll go to Chitwa in a bit. We want to just check out what's happening on Juma first, especially at the Waterhole. So I'm taking it really slow. Like I said to you, starting at Twin Dam set the pace for me. Having a nice chilled out morning. It's a gorgeous temperature. So I'm just enjoying myself and enjoying the scenery. Also keeping an eye out for tracks, always doing that. Just found a nice leopard track. Let's see if I can show it to you though. Let me show it to you here. Hi, Sydney. You have an important question. I'm just going to get out a pointer so I can show you. Pokey is out, everyone. So, here's a very nice female leopard track. So all cats will have a 3-lobed pad. So you see here, 1, 2, 3 lobes. There's the 4 toes, 1, 2, 3, 4. Very neat looking track, but you want to know what's the difference between this track and a cheetah's track. So with a cheetah, you would find that there's, I don't want to adjust this because then it might make people think that there's a cheetah around, but it would have claws. So a little indent there. Actually, I think nobody would be that silly. There's a claw like that. Would be at the end of each of those toes if it were a cheetah. Then also the back pad would still be 3 lobes, but that middle lobe tends to be a little smaller. So it looks like more like that, with the middle lobe a little bit shorter. That now looks like the most ridiculous leopard track ever. Maybe I'll just draw it here. So cheetah's track, a little bit shallower there, comes round, see your toes, and then claw like that. So you see that the 3 lobes are still there, just that the ones at the end are a little bit longer than the one in the middle. I should probably, just for the sanity of the other people who are going to be driving around here, just do that. Luckily, the tracks for this female still continue. Down here, small female at that. So it looks like she's moving across all the way to the south in Cheetah Cutline. So they're very nice tracks. I don't think anybody else has driven here. So we might turn around and follow her. She might have gone to Chitwa, could be Tandi, could be Tlalamba. So let me send you over to Mike in Pridelands now. I'm going to turn around and follow these tracks.
So we are on our way towards Leopard Dam. Reason why we're doing that is because tracks of wild dogs were called in, and then we heard elephants going crazy in that direction, and also buffaloes we could hear. Now, as we were walking down here, we heard this low rumble, and we stopped, and there was an elephant bull just in this clearing that you can see behind us, and it cut across here. And we're quite lucky we had the wind, the sun behind us, so it could not see us, and we've got some trees and shrubs. And so it just walked straight in front of us, and it's changed direction now. I think it's following a group of females that we spied in the distance with our binoculars. You can see the area is quite thick, so we're taking it real slow. Willem's leading us through these areas, trying to use game paths. What we said before, the roads are like game paths, so we're trying to use the animal pathways to find these animals. Now, the buffaloes are not so far, just up ahead of us here somewhere. We've seen the elephants all over this place. There's fresh tracks and signs everywhere. So we're taking it real slow. Just liking to keep you updated about what we're doing on this bushwalk. It's a wonderful thing about bushwalks is that you don't always see a lot of animals. But there's always awareness to be had around you. You always have to be alert to everything that you see. Could be a broken branch, fresh leaves on the ground, fresh dung tracks. Even now, the grass is covered in dew. I don't know if you can see it very easily. Maybe more towards that side where the sun is behind you. You can see the grass is shining. Now, when we're walking, we're actually looking for that shining grass. We're looking for where it's not shining anymore. And that is a sign that an animal has walked over that patch. So it's really, it's a good challenge for us to be able to walk in this kind of a thick environment. And we can walk anywhere we want in the bush. Remember, we are human beings. We're allowed to be here. This is part of our natural environment. It's where we came from. But we do have to follow a few simple rules. Power levels. Some animals are more powerful than us. So, for example, when we see a buffalo or an elephant, we stay out of its way.
On the 27th of April, WildEarth will be turning 14 years old, and we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all of you. And to celebrate, we will be finishing the beautiful book that we started last year that looks at the history so far. But we do need you to be part of it. Please submit your most memorable sighting, or what WildEarth means to you, or even just your name and a comment to be included inside the book. Head over to the website to add your name and reserve your copy. We are offering a 20% discount on all books bought before the end of March. And a big thank you to all of you who have contributed to the book so far.
With a slew of potential dangers lurking, it's essential to be aware of your surroundings whilst walking in the wilderness.
20 yards away from one of the most endangered species. This is a big bull.
What a moment, what a close encounter with an Ellie bull. He's just over here now. He's moved completely away.
Being on a bushwalk and seeing a leopard, I mean, it's ridiculous to be this close to a leopard on foot and for him not to run is absolutely insane. How crazy was that?
Through the gap there is just the back of the head of a male lion. He is absolutely unaware that we are here right now. I'll tell you, seeing lions on foot, it definitely brings out the caveman in you, this little scared human being.
Hi, my name is Tristan Dix, and I am a guide here at Djuma Private Game Reserve for WildEarth. We love connecting you to the African bush, and we always look forward to all of your questions. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, you'll need to register on the website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit a question below the live feed. Catch up with me on WildEarth.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. We've been lucky enough this morning, we managed to relocate those two subadult cheetahs, the same ones we were looking at yesterday. My name is Dean, and behind the camera we've got Craig. And as you can see behind me, clouds are slowly starting to roll in. We did have a little bit of rain last night, but just enough to sort of wet all the grass around us and fill up some of the watering holes a little bit more. We've actually had quite a bit of rain this year already. Like I mentioned earlier, we managed to find those two subadult cheetahs, but they're right in the middle of the grass there. Quite difficult to spot them. You see as Craig zooms in there, you might just see a flicker of an ear. Oh, it really just demonstrates how well they actually camouflage. They've moved about, I'd say about 200 meters north of where they were yesterday. So haven't moved too far during the night. And I'm hoping as the day starts to warm up, they might move into a bit of an open area. We had some Impala to our left just a moment ago. They were alarm calling. I assume it would have been for the two cheetah that are lying down over here, or are lying down over here. A little bit of a breeze also. You can see how the grass is moving there. It's coming across these open areas here. It's actually a perfect area for these two cheetah here. They're well hidden. You can imagine if a lion or a leopard was to walk past, it wouldn't go unnoticed quite easily. So I think for the time being, what they're doing is just plunking their heads down, taking it easy. Generally, cheetahs are a little bit more active during the day. That's the time when other predators are least active. hoping one of them just pops their head up. Right in the middle of the screen, that's where they are. Like I said, really goes to show how well they are camouflaged. I think what we're going to do is try and see if we can get a better view. I think you guys will head over to Mike in Pridelands in the meantime.
So, while there's some well-hidden cheetahs, we found some well-hidden elephant dung. So now this elephant dung was covered by grass like this. And it's very interesting. It's a very tiny elephant dung. It's much smaller than my hand. This was a baby elephant. It's really unusual to see one this small. So it's a very young elephant. And if I put my fingers against it, I can actually feel the warmth of this elephant dung. So it's very fresh. I mean, we saw that elephant bull, and we heard lots of trumpeting. So I think what happened here is there was a herd feeding around this area, and the elephant bull came around and actually chased them off, and so they left very quickly. But one interesting thing that Niels was pointing out now is that if you look here, you can see all the grass is flattened in one direction. We were just talking about how we follow tracks and signs, so you can really see all the grass pushed over, and you can see where the grass has been pushed over. It's catching that light so perfectly, and it's shining like that. Now the grass is very wet. If the sun was a little lower, you would actually notice that it's not shining as much with the dew, that is. So that's one way to check. Now what I want to do is just open this little elephant dung up just a little bit, just to see what's inside this. Now can you see in here, it is actually very fine material. There's some few bits of leaf in there, but it's mostly grass, because there's lots of grass this time of year, and it's very finely chewed. Now, elephants, as they get older, their teeth get bigger and rougher, and so you'll find in their elephant dungs, it's more coarse. If I put my finger inside there, it's very warm in there. I could cook an egg in that. You know how it would taste? It's very warm. So the finer the elephant dung particles, the younger the elephant. As it gets older and its teeth get bigger, you'll find that those pieces get much chunkier. And a very old elephant, not only will the dung be very large, but it'll also be filled with whole leaves, whole twigs that haven't even been chewed properly, because their teeth are dying. Well, not dying, but they're falling out. So what I'm going to do now is just close this elephant dung back up as best I can in order to keep the moisture inside as long as possible. Because although it's quite fresh, there's not too many insects that have arrived. There's some tiny little dung beetles that have started to arrive now. Probably takes about 10 to 15 minutes for the first dung beetles to arrive. But once they arrive, they'll start digging in there. They'll start eating some of this material, laying eggs. Zoe, excellent question. So all sorts of dung beetles will live in this dung. So you've got all sorts of different types of dung beetles. Some will live in the dung, some will roll it away, some will bury it, but some dung beetles live in this. Many species, there could be dozens of species of dung beetle. And some flies lay their eggs in there. All sorts of maggots will then live inside that, larvae of beetles as well. Not only dung beetles, but others as well. So it's really a whole ecosystem on its own. And so we don't really want to disturb it too much. This is very fresh, so there wasn't anything living inside just yet. But an elephant dung that you can see is covered in beetles and bugs and all sorts. If you open it, you must be very careful to close it again nicely, because when that dries, it will not be able to sustain all the insects that are inside. So when we move off now, we're going to keep heading towards where the buffaloes are, or where we heard them. And in the meantime, we'll send you back over to Trico.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We are still sitting on this waterhole here with these two grey herons. And ever since we've been here, they haven't caught anything. They've just been sitting there. And the one right at the back has actually haven't moved much. You know, haven't gave us any sort of like activity in comparison to the one closest to us. It's been grooming itself, which is quite nice to see. When you're a bird like this, that eats mostly fish most of the time, you have to be patient. So yeah, they're just patiently waiting for the chance. And as soon as they see a fish or a frog, they're going to be on it. And just look at the shape of that beak. Okay? Do you see how long and sharp it is? So they actually use that beak as a spear when they're hunting. So once they see a fish or a frog, they just spear it through and take it out of the water. So some of the fish that they might go for, I know in this waterhole there's quite a few catfish in here. I'm not too sure if there's any mullets or tilapia or anything like that. But your millets and tilapia, that's some of the fish that they will go for. I'm just going to give us a minute and just see it. Just enjoy this. Julia, I believe your question is, do they kill the fish before eating it? Yes, indeed. So sometimes they will spear it through and pierce through the fish, and then sometimes they'll even start to hit it against a branch or a log, like that log that is sitting on, and then swallow it whole. It's so nice just sitting here. There's a nice breeze blowing through, and it's so nice and quiet. Also, there's been a bit of a sound or water splashing on the left-hand side of us. Let's have a look what that might be. And a hippo, everybody. There's another one picking its head up. I mean, we've been here for quite too long now, and we almost didn't realize that there were hippos here up until like a few seconds ago, where we just had that splash in the water. Absolutely peaceful, and I'm glad that you can join us. So with those hippos that we just saw picking his head up and then down, so as you saw the hippos picking his head up to breathe, and then they went down. Take a deep breath first and then go down. I believe Tarina asked, what time do birds wake up in the morning? So, Tarina, there is what we call nocturnal birds. We do have birds that are active throughout the night. Okay, and early in the morning they tend to rest. They're not that active anymore. But then the ones that are active during the day, so I would say maybe just before the sun rises, you'll start to hear a lot of birds start to call. So right now, as we move towards winter here in Africa, I think we have sunrise at around 5:30 to 6 o'clock. So around that time, that's when you hear more birds start to call around. And also there's a bird on the far side. A bit of white on the chest. And a bit of black on the face. Some few spots on its face. It has, if you look quite closely on its beak, it has a little bit of a knob. That is what we call a knob-billed duck, or a comb duck, which is what it used to be called. And looking at the knob, so the knob during breeding season, it gets thicker, maybe 2 times thicker than what you can see. But outside breeding season, that knob gets a bit thinner, and I guess that is how they attract females. For now, I think we are going to leave this waterhole and we're going to head sort of west of this property and still be on the lookout for the lions that we were looking for earlier on. But right now, I'm going to send you to Juma with Trish.
We are at Chutwa, and I'm very happy to show you some elephants. What's also nice is they're not terribly far from the dam. So we might actually get what I'm hoping for. Some elephants having a bit of a swim. It's warmed up nicely. Even a drink would be sufficient for me. It's a very small herd. This looks like the largest female in the herd. There's a few there, and we can see them coming through here on this side. So the area we're in is quite close to the lodge. It's just next to like the workshop area in the lodge. So it's an area where there's lots of human wastewater and stuff like that, and that means that the vegetation that grows in this area is a little bit more lush, because for an extended period it's been exposed to water, even in periods of drought in the past. So often in this patch we see lots of animals, herbivores, having a good go at all of the vegetation. How nice to go about your work. I can hear some like hose pipes and stuff like that not too far from us. Someone going about their work, and there's some elephants right here, peacefully chomping away. Everybody's getting hypnotized by them. They really are. They're very hypnotizing to watch. They're kind of, it's like, I don't know, watching waves at the beach, or watching a fire in the bush, as in a campfire, not a felt fire. Just, it's sufficient to just watch them. You don't need much more. You don't need them to do anything special. They are so enough. Daisy, you'd like to know if elephants are specific about what they eat. They are bulk feeders, so they will eat quite a lot of things. They eat grass in bulk, eat leaves in bulk, but sometimes, especially when there's a lot of resources around, when that happens, you'll find that they'll choose what they want to eat quite specifically. Like maybe they only want this particular grass, so they'll go after that specifically. Look at this here. Kind of imagine, Daisy, if you had a huge selection of chocolates. Like, you know those mixed bags of chocolates? But you had lots and lots. You had like 200 of them. And obviously you're going to go for your favorite ones first and eat all of those. Even though you don't mind the other ones, it's just that everything's so abundant that you're going to pick your favorite ones first. In that sense, they are quite picky. Hello. Good morning to you too. I love when the little ones do this and the adults lift up their heads like, what are you doing? Oh, of course. I don't know if you saw one almost tripped. It was being pushed over by its friend. We're such a distance from them, but it's quite open. I'll turn like this. It's quite open between us, and normally there'd be bushes between us, so maybe that gave them a fright because we're so far from them. Let me just turn my nose in so we can see them. There we go. You can see what a distance we've got between them. between us. Well, if they keep on moving in that direction, they're going to end up at the dam, and that's what I want to see. So let me send you over to Mike at Pridelands while they enjoy a little more vegetation.
Managed to find those buffalo. They're right in front of us, probably about 50 meters away. Just followed, kept stopping regularly. We just followed their sounds until we've come to them. In fact, you can just see them moving through the thickets there. It's not an easy view, but there are a lot of buffalo here, probably more than 50 of them. And although they saw us at first, because we stood still and we didn't come any closer, they seemed to be getting used to us and they're starting to just carry on doing what they do. There's lots of them, including some big bulls just to the left of us. You can't see them so easily, but you can just see them moving through these bushes. We're going to try and see if we can reposition to get a slightly better view. As always with buffaloes, as I've said before, they are probably one of the most feared of all the big five animals, especially on foot. Herds like this are generally a little bit easier to predict. They're quite protective and they'll usually run away before they feel like they have to do anything. It's those single old bulls that we have to be worried about. You can just see them moving through that gap there, some of the bigger bulls. This is probably the tail end of the herd. I think we've just caught the tail end as they're moving up towards our boundary. They've probably been at Leopard Dam already this morning to have a drink. An absolutely incredible thing to be on foot with these massive and powerful animals. I've said before, they're one of my favorite of the big five, just because I think they're so underrated. And if these buffaloes really felt like it, they could come barreling through here. And although we've chosen a pretty good spot, we've got some big fallen leadwoods right behind us, which would be a pretty safe place to go and stay behind. See those big fallen trees just behind us there? So if those buffaloes did come towards us, we've got a place to go and take shelter. But if we keep our distance and we stay relatively quiet, they're not going to bother us at all. You can see there's another big bull following the tail end of the herd. These big bulls, actually that's not a bull, it's a female, it's a cow. These are the ones we have to worry about, because oftentimes the ones at the back of the herd are injured or old or sick in some way and they can't keep up. So we do have to keep our distance and be aware. I think we could probably walk parallel to these buffaloes as long as we keep that distance. It might even just allow us to walk next to them. We had some buffaloes not long ago. We hid in a thicket just like what we're in now, and they walked straight towards us, and about 15 meters I actually had to stand up and say, "Oh, buffaloes, we're here." And they were very obliging. They just stopped and turned and started walking away. They didn't even freak out at all. So the nice thing about buffalo herds, they feel secure in numbers, and so they'll generally move away together as a group. It's the single buffaloes that will often cause problems. Kathy, I think so. As long as we follow those general rules of the bush, listening to the warning signs, keeping distance, making sure we respect animals that are more powerful than us. And generally they do. In many places the animals have been hunted for centuries, and so they do have an instinctive fear of humans, and so on foot, especially if we're walking here, they will move away from us, no doubt. But as long as we respect them and treat them nicely, over years and years, they'll become accustomed to our presence, and we will just become another animal that they see on foot. You see it often around camps, which have been established for a long time. Animals move in and around the camp without worrying about us at all. So I think these buffaloes are doing just that, because the first buffalo we saw, the female, she was close. She was probably, 20 meters away from us. So wonderful. We're just going to see if we can reposition and get a closer view.
We stopped as the dusk was settling, and there was a zebra mare underneath the bush. She was lying down. We didn't really know what was happening, and then we saw it.
Everybody, there's a zebra giving birth there. There's a zebra giving birth. This is a zebra giving birth. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, you clever mare. Well done. It's born, everyone. It's born and it's alive and it looks fine.
This was, of course, an unusual sighting. Normally, herbivores like Impala and wildebeest and zebra will give birth during the middle of the day. This is when their predators like lions and hyenas are fast asleep. But as this little foal took its first steps, the dying embers of the day had just gone over the western horizon, and it was just the time that the hyenas and lions were starting to get active and go out foraging. This is why we didn't light up the sighting, of course. It may have compromised the zebra's eyes and at the same time attracted those hyenas and lions to the activity.
I'm absolutely delighted to have won the February prize draw for 3 nights for 6 people at the Djuma Private Game Reserve. I absolutely love everything WildEarth has to offer. I find the guides extremely knowledgeable and will go above and beyond to ensure a great safari experience. I will be taking my husband and family from the UK to experience this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. One of the main reasons I joined the WildEarth Explorer program was for the fireside chats and also to win an incredible prize, which I am so fortunate to win and incredibly happy. I would like to thank WildEarth for this amazing prize and cannot wait to meet the team.
I'm Nikki here at andBeyond in Ngala in South Africa. I love getting questions from viewers about all the small things within the environment and how it all is integrated with one another. If you want to ask me any questions, please simply register with the WildEarth website, head across to the Live Safari page and then post your questions there. I'm looking forward to chatting to you on my next WildEarth drive.
We're watching some more of the herd, or you can hear some of the herd coming through. And these youngsters are so playful. But don't go that way, that's away from the dam. Something's bothering them a little bit though, although it's just the youngsters that are feeling that way. The adults are very relaxed. This cow is quite large. She's come through from the back. She looks like the largest that I've seen so far for this herd. But like I've said before, they can be scattered. You'll just see them streaming through. You don't just see them in one big crowd. I mean, you do see that occasionally, especially at waterholes. But if you're just sitting like this, you'll see them kind of streaming through. Good morning, big girl. I love when they look at you. It's a different kind of feeling to when any other animal looks at you. It's almost as if they're really looking at you. Mr. Daniel Brown Pina, how are you? I am very excited to have you on board. You'd like to know, how long does it take an elephant to digest its food? It's very quick. They have a very inefficient digestive system. So they're not ruminants. So they don't have a 4-chambered stomach. It's closer to a hindgut fermenter. So it's very inefficient, which is why their dung looks the way it does. And there's still always bits of leaf and bark and grass in it. So when they eat, they can pass what they've eaten within about an hour. Give or take a few minutes. Not everyone's gut works the same. But it is very quick. And they're constantly having to defecate because they're constantly eating. And if they're eating upwards of 100 kgs a day, big male Big bull will eat about 300 kgs a day. Then they're also defecating around that amount too. Oh no. These little ones always look like they're going to face plant when they go onto their front quarters. I think that we can look forward to them going to the dam. To me, they look dry. You need to go get yourself some good water. Now they're digging a little bit. You can see it's quite damp there because their feet are now their feet are a little bit wet. Can you see that? Nikki, you'd like to know how long it takes a baby elephant to feed on plants? Well, they'll try to. Almost immediately, within a few weeks, they'll try to. But they'll realize it's not really working for them. Oh, one's just flung a root piece into the air. So they may try very early, but they will not get many nutrients from it because they haven't acquired the correct bacteria in their guts to allow them to digest cellulose. Because there's very, very, very few, as in a handful of creatures in the world who can, or especially mammals, none at all, that can digest cellulose on their own. They need to acquire the bacteria that can do that digestion for them. So no mammal can do that. So in order to acquire that bacteria, it takes some time. It takes some time within your herd because you're going to acquire it from the animals, other elephants in the herd, and from just existing outside of the womb. You're going to acquire that correct bacteria. So it takes about a month to 3 months before they can fully take advantage of what's going on vegetation-wise around them. And under a month, it's almost it's a useless activity for them to be eating. They're not going to get much nutrition from it, but what they are getting from it is acquiring the necessary bacteria and getting the system, their digestive system, like kicking it into gear. That's all that's happening in that first few months. You see a lot of this, a lot of play with the food. And the babies will grab very specific things to eat. They won't just kind of go crazy and grab branches and all of that. They're little chunks, pick things that they're interested in and put it in their mouths. And most of the time, the things that they pick up are more exciting to play with than to eat. But hey, give it a go, like this one. Give it a bit of a chew, then play with it some more. Just got whacked in the face by Mum's tail. JB, you'd like to know if elephants have the thickest skin amongst mammals? No, I'm quite sure it's the giraffe that has the thickest skin. And that's because they need to maintain a higher blood pressure, giraffes. So they have thick, tight skin in order to do that, kind of wearing compression socks, if you can imagine. Elephant skin, though thick, not as thick as a giraffe skin. Another thick-skinned animal is a hippo, but it's not exclusively the skin that is thick. It's the layer of fat that is attached to the skin that can make it appear much thicker than actual just epidermis and dermis. These ones are really having some low-key fun here. Kind of like it, you know, not too loud, not too boisterous, but throwing things around. Swinging their trunks, giving themselves nice headgear. So relaxed. So she's loosening the soil there to get to some roots. Nice juicy roots full of nutrients and water, but also to loosen the soil so that she can throw it on top of her. As you can see, she's got some sand on her back. That sand will be nice and cool because it's quite moist. We saw the moisture on their feet as they were digging. Oh, there we go. Nice juicy root. Can you hear the hippos in the background too? Their ears are starting to flap a little bit and move away from their body, so they're feeling warmer, which is great for us because it means that hopefully they'll be going to the dam. Whoa, that is a big prize that this one's got. Look at that root you just dug up. Lovely. Well, I'm going to go to the dam and stand by there, and hopefully they'll come through. But I'm going to send you over to Mike in Prrivate and see if he's still with those buffalo.
On the 27th of April, WildEarth will be turning 14 years old, and we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all of you. And to celebrate, we will be finishing the beautiful book that we started last year that looks at the history so far. But we do need you to be part of it. Please submit your most memorable sighting, or what WildEarth means to you, or even just your name and a comment to be included inside the book. Head over to the website to add your name and reserve your copy. We are offering a 20% discount on all books bought before the end of March. And a big thank you to all of you who have contributed to the book so far.
It's the month of March and WildEarth is offering you the chance to win a brand new prize. Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer and you could win a 5-day eco-training ranger experience for 2. Eco-training is the pioneer and leader in safari guide and wildlife training in Africa. The lucky winners can look forward to approaching dangerous game on foot, tracking and 4x4 driving, learning about animal behavior, and even spending one night sleeping out under a blanket of stars. In addition, you will also get the exclusive opportunity to join the WildEarth team on the broadcasting vehicle. Sign up to be an explorer now, and it could be you that wins this life-changing experience. Terms and conditions apply.
My name is Ross, and I'm a field guide at andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. I love getting questions from guests on WildEarth because I love sharing and learning information about nature with new people, and it also makes me feel like you're all joining me in real life. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit your question below our live feed.
Welcome back, everybody. So it's right in front of us. Look what we've just found. An African buffalo. How amazing. And as I mentioned earlier on that we're moving towards winter and it's getting chilly and chillier. So I think this buffalo was maybe on the outside of the riverbed earlier on, and then because it was so cold, he decided to go down into the riverbed. Because remember, both sides of this riverbed, we have banks and a lot of trees around, which actually can block out the cold wind. So I think he decided to come here just to get warm. And if you look at the tips of his ears, you notice there's a lot of notches. Also, if you look at the horns, you'll see they are chipped right on the end of them. So that might be from fights with other males. And sometimes you see them horning trees and bushes. I don't know why exactly they do that. Maybe it's because they will have an itch, but they tend to do that quite often. And if you look right on his back, you'll see there's a bit of mud as well. And also it looks like he's lost a lot of hairs just on the rump side, just after the back legs. So this bull that you see here is really old. He's been around for a while. So with those particular things that I just mentioned to you, I would say this bull is around maybe 15 to 16 years old. Because remember, they live up to 20 years of age in the wild. But with that being said, sometimes they don't even reach that age because remember, they are always in a constant fight with other buffaloes. And also lions might take them down. I believe Lily Pen wants to ask if the horns ever stop growing. Lily Pen, yes, they do stop growing. So the outer part of the buffalo, so the dark part as you can see there, that's actually keratin. And the inner part of it is just pure bone. So those bones, when they're young, obviously those horns are going to be smaller, but as they grow older, they get bigger and then they get to a stage where they stop growing. But then also if this buffalo is in a fight and manage to break that horn, or maybe running from lions and manage to hit the horns against a tree and break it, that horn won't grow back again. So normally we're used to buffaloes being in these big, huge herds. But then, right now we see this male by himself. So with the males, if they try to challenge the dominant male in the herd, because remember there's a hierarchy, if he fights with the male and, the other dominant bull wins, that means he's going to be chased out of the herd. But sometimes they don't get chased out of the herd. Sometimes it's because they get older and older. And because buffaloes are gregarious animals and they are constantly on the move and constantly feeding, sometimes there's old bulls left behind because of old age. So they will sometimes link or stay with other bulls that are in the same predicament as them. But right now, I think let's take a bit of a moment and just watch and take it all in. I don't think this buffalo is gonna move as of yet, but as it becomes warmer and warmer, maybe it might move and start feeding again, or even head into the waterhole and just sit there and help to cool down, because the sun here can get really, really hot, sometimes up to 40 to 45 degrees, especially in summertime. So right now I think we're gonna leave this buffalo be and send you to another location.
Wow, look at what we found. At first glance, you don't see anything there. But as we start zooming in, it's gonna blow you. It's something you often see at night, but today we're fortunate enough to see it at rest during the day. It's a spotted eagle owl right there in the middle of the camel thorn, hiding itself there. It's looking directly at us. This is camouflage at its best. Look at that. I mean, concealed to perfection. Amazing. So, as we would know with owls, they are nocturnal birds and birds of prey. But what it's doing there, it would spend the day right in the shade and might move every now and then if it is molested by other birds that would come during the day. Things like your fork-tailed drongos and so on might disturb it if they do find it there. But concealment, wow, I give it 100. Very interesting. A lot of people still think it's actually sight that they would use at night to hunt, which is actually not. They would use more hearing than sight when hunting at night. They've got such an intricate hearing system, and their ears are positioned in such a way that almost one faces up and all the other faces down, just so that they can pick and pinpoint sound directly. Bright yellow eyes. I am going to try maneuver a little bit and see if we can see it better without disturbing it. Jennifer, how big is this owl? It's about... she just flew... So you're looking at just over a ruler length. I'm not entirely sure with your centimeters. I can find out for you and give you the exact centimeters, but just by judging with the naked eye, just a little bit over ruler size. So I would say about 40 centimeters if I judge by the eye, but I'll definitely have a look at the exact centimeters and refer back to that. Obviously just moved into another tree. I'm not going to follow up. It is a nocturnal species, so obviously that would be disturbing it. So we'll let it be without putting too much impact on it. But that was a very, very cool find to see it during the day. And oh no, there is another one there. Look at that. There's two of them. Oh, also taking off. Wow. Wow. I'll try. BK thinks he can get it from the distance. We'll try and move forward a little bit. Let's see. Now I'm pushing BK's skills here. Wow, look at the camouflage. If it doesn't move, you don't see anything. And they need it. You just see the head moving there as it looks around. And very interesting about how they move the head. The eyes are actually fixed in the eye sockets. So they have to turn the whole herd to look around. And it's interesting that they can almost go at about 270 degrees, turning the head. And what affords them to do that, it's actually two veins from the heart to the brain, that after going over the 180 mark, the one artery would shut and they will still have blood supply with the other. Just an adaptation, sorry for that, a bit of a tongue twist, for them to be able to do that. And sometimes what you do see is them actually bobbing their head every now and then. And when they do bob the head like that, is to actually try and focus. That's why they would bob the head like that. Beautiful, beautiful. Beautiful bright eyes. They always stand out. Even at night you would see those bright eyes sticking out. So think of this. The reason they have such bright yellow eyes is so that they can absorb as much light in at night and help them actually see. So I was asked a question earlier about how big they are, and I said just by eye it's about over a ruler. I've just had confirmation here. It says 45 centimeters and weighing up to about 700 grams. So yeah, my judgment wasn't too bad. I'm impressed with myself. Pretty shocked. Beautiful. So they would go for things like your baby scrub hair, your rodents, filth mouse, and so on. Those are the things they would go after at night when they start hunting. I see there's another bird that just landed on top of that tree there. Let's see what happens. Really, it is true. The eyes are stuck or fixed. Let me not say stuck. A better word to use would be fixed. Their eyes are fixed in their eye sockets, and hence they have to move the whole head. They can turn the head just over the 180 mark, pushing it almost to 270 degrees, turning. A very incredible feature to have, or flexibility to have, almost being able to look behind themselves without turning the body. That is amazing. That's something I really envy of them. I wish I could do that. Imagine you're walking the one way and you're facing the other way. That would be creepy. Don't touch me. I think the bird that just landed there, because of cryptic coloration like that, they didn't even see it. It just landed almost on top of it and took off again. I think it was a Namako dove. Wow, interesting question. Do all nocturnal predators have yellow eyes? To my knowledge, and I speak under correction, most predators would have slightly lighter colored eyes. I don't want to say yellow. And that helps in absorbing light, the smallest light that they can get, and amplify it to their advantage. I mean, you look at things like your lion, you look at things like your leopard, they've got more light receptors in their eyes than color receptors. And it makes sense that they do have such receptors, because meat, to a certain extent, is meat. So they don't really need to see the color of that meat, but it gives them a higher advantage if they can actually see better and outdo their predator, or their prey rather, and have that advantage over their prey. So yes, I would like to think that predominantly your nocturnal predators would have lighter colored eyes, and one of the reasons being that they would have more light receptors in the eyes than color receptors. Whereas if you looked at animals that would be active during the day, they would have more color receptors than light receptors in their eyes. And also, if you look at how the retina of the eye with predators would operate, it would be slightly different in the sense that it would bounce back light back into the eye. So it acts like a mirror. So that caption of light goes through the eye, bounces on the retina back into the eye, and it's amplified, and hence they see better at night. So whereas with us, it's completely different. What you see is what you get, almost kind of a perspective. And also with how big our pupils would dilate and so on, allowing light. So I hope that answers the question. Very beautiful. There's a Kalahari scrub robin right above it. Just flagging its tail there, look at that. And off it goes. doesn't look like the owl is going to be doing much. So on that note, we'll send you over to Trisha, who's going to be going towards a watering hole to check what is happening there. Over to Trisha and enjoy.
It's a pied kingfisher. I love the pied kingfisher. It's just flown just above the surface of Chitwa Dam. Look at that water, glistening, like it's full of diamonds. We're having a relaxing time at the dam, because I can actually see the elephants slowly making their way in this direction, but they're very small at this point in terms of, because they're so far away. But we do have our hippos. Hello, you guys. Enjoying this Friday morning. Yes, they look very, very relaxed. And then we have a water monitor that is also enjoying the morning. I think it's enjoying the sun a lot more than the hippos do, or the hippos are at the moment. The hippo skin is very sensitive to the sun, whereas this water monitor is relying on the sun in order to heat it up for the day. It's basking. Oh, right on cue. A great selection of interesting animals around us at the dam, as well as the elephants slowly making their way. So I'm going to stay put, but I'm going to send you over to Damon at Phinda.
Welcome back, everyone, to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve, where we were actually crossing this watering hole wall here, and just like Trish, we've also found a water monitor just on the edge of the road there. Myself and Craig were actually quite surprised that it didn't move off as we came here. You can see now and then it turns its head left and right. Oh, looks like it's slowly moving off. Geez, quite a large water monitor. In actual fact, Africa's largest monitor lizard. Oh, you can just see that belly and how thick that tail is. And the head slowly, slightly tilted to the left there, just keeping an eye on us. You can see how the sun rising behind us is baking. And this monitor lizard's just trying to warm up. It was quite a cool night last night. We had a bit of rain. It was a bit of a breeze. So I think after the cool night, this monitor's just trying to warm up now. And just beyond it, there's some blacksmith lapwings on the road also. There's quite a few bird species here. You can hear in the background some white-breasted cormorants there. They're in some of the nesting in some of those trees, those dead trees on the far end of this watering hole. Oh, there's one just coming over now. There it goes. Oh, no, never mind. That looks like an African darter, rather. This goes off there. It's quite amazing to see how much this water level has actually risen.
can see there's a grassy patch just in front here, and about 2 weeks ago there was a good, close to about a meter of a bank there sticking out of the water. It's pretty much completely under now. We've had some really decent rain over the last couple of weeks. Every now and then we do get a few hippos here also, and it is looking really, really lovely this time of year. All the grass is green. You can never really complain about rain. It's always needed. And looking stunning there with the mountain in the background there. Part of the Lubumbo mountain range. It really is a lovely time of the year. There's a slight breeze coming across the water. You can just see the ripples starting. So this is actually one of the watering holes that holds water probably throughout the year. I think the driest there's been 2 puddles, but that's the driest I've heard it's been. Other than that, it's got water pretty much throughout the year. I think we're going to carry on along this watering hole wall here, and we're going to send you over to Steve, who's also at a watering hole.
Well, thanks, Dean. Yes, well, this is as full as Buffelshoek watering hole has been in March, nearly the end of March. And as always, it's that time of day to just sit back and just enjoy the serenity.
I am enjoying the Waterhole too. Here we have a gorgeous shot of a hamelkop. How cool, with the sky in the background. Just beautiful. I quite like these birds. They're really interesting to watch at the water's edge. And they'll be hanging around in these shallower bits around the dam, because the dam's a bit deep, and because it's gotten so full, the edge is not quite an edge anymore. It's just kind of a drop. So the hamelkop will be hanging out in these shallower bits, looking for frogs, little insects, even little fish. And when it's not doing that, it'll be cleaning itself, cleaning its feathers. Such a pretty bird, at least to me, even though it's just brown. It's so pretty. The males and females are very similar. Just the males are slightly larger than the female. I've been seeing European bee eaters all around, so hopefully they'll land. I can see them in the background there. But I'm going to send you over to Mike and some buffalo in the meantime.
Every time we try and leave these buffaloes, because they're in the thickets and we can't see, they come out and give us a good view again. So we were actually leaving them, and then these buffaloes came out this grassy open area. We're standing now, 70 meters from them, and they can see us certainly, but they're not too worried about us. And they can see that we're moving away at the moment, so they're probably happy to just watch us from the distance. It's such a pleasure to watch how calm they are, even though they've got youngsters with them. They're right there with that female that you're looking at. There's actually a young one right behind her. And they're very curious of us. They've been watching us. Every now and again they approach and they move away. Yes, we've been doing very non-threatening moves, even quite often staying out in the open so they can see us and know what we're doing. If we try and scurry through the thickets and bushes to get closer, that's when they get nervous, because it probably almost feels like we're trying to hunt them or stalk them. You can see that there's lots of females over there, mostly the mothers with calves. And look, we've got the sun directly behind us, so they can't see us very easily, but the wind is swirling, so they probably catch our scent, maybe even hear my voice. They're not quite sure what we are because they can't see us. Very interesting to watch. I think they're generally making their way down towards Leopard Dam. It's getting hot now. They're going to want to find a place to take a rest for the day, the hottest part of the day. I suspect they'll go to Leopard Dam, have a drink, and then lie up in the thickets in the shade around there. It's quite an awesome thing to do, to follow these buffaloes for the last hour. We started off with the leopard tracks. We followed those to the boundary. Then there was the wild dogs tracks that were in the area, also across the boundary. And the whole while we could hear these buffaloes calling. And it's been such a wonderful thing to do, just to follow them, see what they do. And see those ears poked straight towards us, nose up, catching the scent, trying their best to get as much of the detail as possible. Nina Sky, I suppose there's every chance that any animal might charge at us from any distance. It would be an unusual occurrence, especially because we're not doing anything threatening. As I said, if we were stalking up real close and we bumped into some that were unaware of us, that's when they're likely to act aggressively, because we've come into their zone of discomfort, or they're aggressive. They feel unsafe. But from this distance now, we're in what we call their alert zone. They can see that we're here, they're alert to our presence. But they're not get closer to them, will go into their threatened zone, where they start to either run away or feel like they need to start defending themselves. And if we get even closer, we don't follow those warnings, the head swishing, the foot stamping, then we move into the danger zone, where we're likely to come into conflict. And so, Nina Sky, as long as we remain at this distance, it's unlikely that they would do anything. But that is one of the beautiful things about being in the bush, is that sense of being alive. Your adrenaline's pumping sometimes. You're always having to be hyper-aware. But these buffaloes look like they're quite comfortable with us. They're going to start feeding again and probably move off. And in the meantime, whilst we leave them in peace, we'll send you over to Trish.
Good idea and great advice there from Mike. Always to give animals their space and respect. And if you're blessed with a good sighting and they come to you, then lucky you. Our hammerkop is still going about its business, cleaning itself, while our elephants that we saw at the end of the dam wall have decided to turn away and move west. So I'm just a little bit disappointed. Just a tiny bit. At least we have our nice hammerkop. I love it with the... Oh, never mind. I see an elephant once turned around. Let's go and have a quick look. They're all the way on the other side. What I was saying is that I love when we have birds with the sky as a background. It looks so, so pretty. Okay, so they're all the way on the other side of the dam wall. So we'll go have a view of them. Could this be the day that finally I can finally see them have a drink? Mandy, hello. You'd like to know if there will be as much bird activity around the dams in the winter? Yes, I wouldn't expect there to be a reduction in activity. In fact, there'd probably be more activity at the dams in winter, because in winter it's a dry season and there'll be less water around. So I would expect even more activity. It's just that any immigrant or migrant birds would be gone in the winter. There's elephant just there. I just saw something strange floating. Is it a log? Looks like a log. What do you say, Paul? Looks like a log. This is a very strange looking log. I thought it might have been a crocodile right there, but a bit too smooth. Okay, I see them. See one in front here. We're just going to give them space so that we have enough space to move back. If they want to walk around along the dam wall, although they're likely to just pop their trunks in there to have a drink. There's one there. There's a nice big cow coming along also. Sometimes when I hang out at the dam, especially at Chitwa Dam, it makes me feel like I'm at the beach. That kind of breezy, not sea breezy, but dam breeziness happening. I like it, plus the color of the water and the sun and glistening. It's just beautiful. There seems to be a lot more movement at Chitwa Dam in terms of the water. So it gives us that almost wavy look. The same thing at Kayamanzi Dam in Buffelshoek. You get that same kind of feeling. I'm surprised these elephants aren't doing their, ooh, there's water jig, as they usually do. It's kind of a special walk they have when they see water, where they swing their heads, and it looks like when a baby is going to lose control when running downhill. And they're going to fall forward any moment. That's what it looks like. It's a very kind of happy jig down to the water. But now the rest of that herd has actually moved west. So I suspect this little one might move west too. Maybe we'll get lucky and it'll have a drink. But I think my time to watch the elephants swim is still to come. For this stint, at least. What a cutie. Well, I still have hope that they will come down. And remember that this is your live safari. This is happening right now. I'm in the Sabi sands. So send us your questions, give us your comments using that hashtag WildEarth, the YouTube chat stream, or you can go to our website and register and use our questions and comments box. I know it's so but it's also super, like, you know, another thing to add to how amazing it is to watch nature, by knowing that you can ask us something whenever you want using those platforms. Come on, you can do it. It's like the trunk wants the water, but the calf doesn't. Hi, Peter Pan. You'd like to know how an elephant would drink if it's lost its trunk? Well, remember that an elephant drinks through its mouth, not through its trunk. It just uses its trunk to fill up with water and then dunk into its mouth. So elephants that have had their trunks shortened for whatever reason, maybe they got caught in something, whatever nastiness would have resulted in their trunk being shortened, they usually will go down on their front legs and drink water in the same way as a calf would. So calves that are under a year or about a year old, they're not really very proficient in sucking up the water with their trunk and then dumping it into their mouths. So what they do is they get down on their haunches and then they drink like you would if you were going to, drink out of a river. You'd go down onto your chest, put your mouth to the water and then start to drink. That's how the calves do it, and that's how an elephant that doesn't have a long enough trunk would do it too. In fact, there's plenty of evidence for that. Lots and lots of elephants have shorter trunks as a result of some damage. But they seem to be perfectly fine. And even animals that have really short trunks, like half the trunk, they eat in the same way. They get down and then they chomp on the ground, kind of like an antelope. Well, I really do hope that they will come around, but it seems that they're all moving west. I might stick around a little longer to see if I'm lucky, but for now I'm going to send you over to Obi and Tswalu while I wait for my prize of a sighting here.
Thank you, Tricia. There, speaking about how elephants would actually be drinking if they didn't have a trunk. On a similar wavelength about heat and so on, look at the wildebeest there in the distance. It's heating up here in the Kalahari. It's also probably going to head for shade now. And it's actually very interesting to see that one species would actually be going for shade, where other species, for example in the Kalahari, would actually stand deliberately in the sun to try and make themselves overheat to a certain degree, almost going to temperatures reaching 40, and then using a very specialized mechanism for them to actually cool down. It's all in the brain. So what would happen with these kind of species, I'm referring to things like your gemsbok and the likes, that they would expose themselves way over what the body can take. They've got a capillary network of veins connected to the nasal and the brain called the retromandible. And what it does is it would try cool down the air that they breathe, and once the brain picks up the cooled air in the retromandible, the animal would think that it's cool enough. But a species like the blue wildebeest here would have to actually move into shade to cool down. So it's very interesting to see how the two contradictory measures in the same environment come to play. As you can see, he's now find that shade. But again, I would refer back to what we talked about, that do wildebeest become territorial? That shade must be in his territory, or else another male would be competing with him. So it all comes together, and slowly you can put the puzzle together as to how these animals would be working around. I'll move again slightly. So right in the middle of the shade, look at that. Sometimes they'll even lie down. So now just because he just got there, he might stand a little bit. He's seen us also, so making sure what we are and so on. But let's see what happens. Giving us one more look. It's like I can see you. Yes, we're looking at you. Tori, are there any bones in the tail? Good question. Yes, with any mammal, the spine would extend into the tail, but it wouldn't go all the way to the tip of the tail. So the last bit would be the hair that they would use, or that would be attached to the skin that makes the last bit of the tail. And then that hair would elongate the rest of the tail. And it's also for that swishing effect, because the tail would be used actually for swatting flies and so on. BK, you almost got it there. I saw what you were trying to do. Well done. With that bed there. There goes the wildebeest. Probably in the direction that he's walking, there is a watering hole there, so he's probably going to be aiming to be there by the heat of the day. While he does that, we also going to be trying to find something else, and we'll send you over to another very beautiful location.
Our lives are dictated by alarm clocks, traffic jams, constant multitasking, and countless distractions. The wilderness is where many of us feel the most human. On a bushwalk, we become part of the natural landscape. As you step off the vehicle, everything comes alive. As with any risky experience, walking amongst these animals inspires awe and appreciation. Now, it's your turn to go on a bushwalk. Join us from Pride Lands as we slow down our thoughts, put aside our distractions, and reconnect with a place that first taught us how to be human.
For all of you WildEarth explorers who bought plaques, today is the day that you will make your very first safari on our vehicle. Because we are quite remote here in the bush, they have taken some time to arrive, but I am happy to say they are here and they look great. Marcel has spent the day attaching them. Let's take a look.
Before we mount these nameplates, we just give a light dusting of green paint. This is to better match them to the color of the vehicles and also to decrease the reflectivity of the metal and thereby staying sensitive towards the animals.
Bumbo crew, hopefully Dan Black, Liesel Apgar and Alicia George. Well, it's time for me to get ready to take you all on a safari. Let's go.
I love being a cam op for WildEarth. The animals coming right up close to you, especially like lions. Sometimes you get nervous, but you have to go with the flow. My favorite animal to film is the elephant because of how big it is. But when it's really up close to you, it's one animal that you would say, I really respect you.
Find that? So this incredibly sticky substance that you can see between my two fingers is resin from a type of tree which is fairly common but often overlooked. Now this incredibly sticky substance comes from a resin tree. I'm not sure exactly which species, and even many botanists struggle to identify the different species of resin tree, but we've got a small version of it right here next to us. And as we were walking past, I just noticed the sticky white sap coming out of some of these branches over here, which have been broken by, I don't know, an elephant feeding as it walked past. But I knew exactly what it was straight away. Now, this particular one is a different species to the current resin tree, which is probably quite common. You've maybe even seen it before. That makes a blue sap. This is a white sap, but it can be used for a variety of things. Now, we often know that sap has been used as gum and becomes very sticky. And what I've seen it used before is they coat branches on trees in very traditional rural areas where food has to be hunted. And then people put the sap on the tree, and then when small birds land on the tree, they can't fly away easily, and so they can be collected. That's not something we do out here. Of course, we're just doing safaris. We just look at the animals, we don't eat them. But nonetheless, it's a traditional use of this plant. Now, if you can collect a lot of this, I mean, look at that stringy, like sticky substance there on my finger. Now, I just got maybe a piece even smaller than my pinky fingernail, but imagine if you could collect a cupful of this stuff, how much use you could have for it. I mean, you could literally stick things together, and it's very sticky. I mean, it's difficult to pull my fingers apart. Now, the tree is easy to identify, so I've got a leaf right here. So you can see this leaf has very prominent one single vein in the middle and very parallel veins next to it. Now, if I turn the leaf around, we'll notice at the bottom, veins are very, very prominent. They stick out of the bottom of the leaf. And then towards the ends of the leaf, of the veins, they actually split in two. So it's very, very, very parallel venation with a single prominent vein, long leaf. Now, often you'll find that the young branches on these trees have got a sausage-like appearance. And as they get older, that sausage-like appearance disappears and it becomes quite twisted and gnarly, with usually quite dark bark that's very, very twisted and blocky. And this one is a very small one. It's probably been damaged in the past by elephants or other animals feeding on it or walking over it. But nonetheless, a very cool plant to see out here in the bush. Very interesting. I'd love to collect a whole bunch of this sticky stuff and see exactly what I could stick together. I'm sure it feels very similar to Pritt stick. If you've ever used Pritt stick to glue some pieces of paper together, it's exactly the same feeling. What a spectacular little tree to find. Love it. Well, we'll send you over somewhere else. In the meantime, we'll keep making our way back towards the HQ, where we've heard that Iselwini is about.
come back into the area that we were tracking a male leopard and just got the visual of a kudu. Can you see it there, meneer? Not the best visual. It's the first animal we've seen since leaving quarantine this morning. We've been on the tracks of a male leopard, and we tried to figure out where he went. The last track we've got is on this road. Went into the drainage and then came out onto this road, but we haven't managed to find anything further. It's a very typical route of the Duke of Juma Tingana, although he was all the way in the north. Yesterday, can barely see the kudu. Well, that's all right. We'll carry on. We're going to find a male leopard just sitting on the side of the road now. Are you ready for it? I can feel it. The European bee eaters are going, yes, yes, you shall, yes, you shall. We tracked him all the way from quarantine, all the way down to the Milwati, up the Milwati, down the Milwati, up onto Batalia, and then down the road here is the last track we saw. This is a very, very interesting drainage line that if he's in there, well then, that's where he's going to stay. But we might be lucky. We have already driven this road. We might be lucky this time. He might have moved again. But we found it very wet, warm, and still sticky, like Mike's resin tree there, scat, on our way earlier. We found that. We had the Franklin alarm calling. I think we were right behind him. And instead of following him up this road, I tried to go around, and I think that was my downfall. Anyway, we live and we learn. I thought he was going to cut through onto the Ngala Road South, which is on the other side there, but he didn't do that. So maybe we will be lucky. Fiona, for the most part, leopards, obviously, when they couple, you'll find them as a pair, and then we call them a mating pair. That lasts for 3, 4, maybe 5 days, and then off they go again. Then, obviously, a female with her cubs. She'll have a few with them. Can have anywhere from 1 to 3, sometimes even 4. But then, every now and again, what we've seen in this property is 3, 4 leopards in the same sighting, which is just, it's always very interesting to see that. They're far more social, I think, than people give them credit for. The undisclosed world of the leopard is very open and visible in places like the Sabi Sands. They're a very shy cat by nature, and so in places where they're not found regularly and not 100% habituated, you don't see what they do under the cover of darkness. They just don't show you. But yeah, in the Sabi Sands, they've been documented for years. Just the stuff we see on the camera. 3, 4 leopards in one sighting. I mean, it's just unbelievable. There'll be one and another one will arrive, and then another one will arrive, and often there's relation between them, but sometimes not at all. 2 males competing over a female. Female having her stepson or half brother coming to steal the food from her. Then the dominant male comes and steals it from both of them. That's just remarkable what sightings have been seen. And that's not even half of it. Okay, so this is, I'm sure he's in here. We're just going to hold our thumbs. I still don't know what that means. Hold your thumbs. It's very hard to drive a car when you're holding your thumbs, I can tell you. KG, that's a very good question. Now, some of the birds' alarm call is very like that, so we're not always relying on those kind of birds for leopards. But Franklin have got this, I can't do it, this like churring sound that they do when a predator walks past. It could be a bird of prey, it could be a mongoose. But when you're on very fresh tracks, you find fresh scat and you find a francolin doing that noise, which I've definitely framed up before in the past to give viewers an understanding of that call. It's not on the bird app, that alarm call. And then obviously the guinea fowl also make that tick, 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 something like that. But that's also a call they make in the early morning and the late afternoon. So it's not as reliable. But francolin, when they make that churring sound, it's often very, very reliable, especially if you're on the tracks of a leopard and you find some scat that is still hasn't even attracted the flies yet. It hasn't gone black yet, it's still green. That scat we found was very fresh. Very fresh. But this environment here is very thick. So some birds are obviously more reliable than others. Squirrels also make a bit of noise. But I have started losing faith in squirrels. The thing is, the squirrels have got so many predators that they just shout. You don't quite know what it is that they're shouting at anymore. The drainage is a normal shout of a francolin. That's a normal sort of like, hey, what's going on? What's going on? It's not the, gee, I can't do it. I need to find one for you doing it again. But the wind has picked up. It's possible that he has moved on, but pretty much where we are now is where I had his last track, right there. He kind of headed up the river here. Anyway, we'll just scratch around a little bit longer, and while we do so, we send you back over to Dean in andBeyond Phinda.
Welcome back, everyone. We've managed to join up again with these two young cheetah, and they've moved again about another 100 meters north of where they were this morning. And it looks like they're actually on a carcass. They're quite far in the thicket there, and the carcass is just covered by the grass there, so I can't make out exactly what it is. I do see a flash of white, what looks to be the underbelly of possibly an Impala or a Ngala. Oh, there the one stands up. You'll notice every now and then either one of them or both of them will actually stand up and just scan. It's quite interesting to see where they actually have the carcass. I wouldn't want to keep that carcass out in the open. That might attract anything like a battalier or a vulture, and with that then might attract other carnivores like hyenas and lions and leopards. So ideally they'd like to pull it into a thicket and just stash it away a little bit, right on the edge of a thicket there. That's to the right of a quarry tree there. Oh, you can see that cheetah on the right's actually using its back molars there. Lilypan, you're asking, do cheetah hunt as a group or individually? So often males, especially brothers, will form what we call coalitions, and they would then hunt together. Females tend to be more on their own, especially as they get older. They might have young cubs with them, but generally older females will hunt by themselves, and males, generally that are brothers in a coalition, will hunt together. You'll notice how, have a look, that one on the left seems to be the one that's a little bit more nervous than the other. Again, I think the wind that comes through here might be mixing smells and sounds around for them, so just putting them a little bit on edge. These are young, they're only about 10 months old, so still very young. So they'll definitely be a little bit on edge. But good to see, they've got that carcass well stashed, which is always a good sign. They'll try and eat as much as they can. Candace, you're asking at what age cheetahs will form coalitions. So it'll pretty much, like I said, with brothers, it'll be from birth, and generally the males would then separate from their mom at about 18 months. So it's pretty much from when they're cubs, they'll stay in that coalition and they'll stick together. Oh, they're both coming up now. Oh, you see a flick of the air now and then. Flies are irritating them. You can imagine the flies that carcass would attract. It's obviously still quite a fresh carcass, so wouldn't be too many yet, but as the day wears on, you'll start getting a lot more flies around there, and that would really irritate the cheetah as they feed. And it's actually quite a nice spot where they are. Just to the left of them is a bit of water. Mandy, asking, is the cheetah population on Phinda healthy? It's a really good question. They are. They are very healthy. It's something that Phinda actually puts a lot of time and effort into. We're very, very fortunate. We've got a very strong cheetah gene pool. A lot of research is also done on Phinda with regards to our cheetah, and yeah, like I said, we put a lot of work into the conservation and that side of things. So yes, very, very strong at the moment. It's obviously a bit of a juggling match, trying to get all your predators' numbers in check. If one goes higher, the other one gets affected, and but yeah, at the moment our cheetah population is very strong. Very, very strong. So always a good sign to see these young cheetah on a kill. Very promising. Very promising. The white I was talking about earlier that I suspect is the Impala, you can see it to the left. Yeah, and you're asking how many species of cheetah there are. As far as I understand, and there's only the one species of cheetah, you do get a bit of like a genetic mutation called the king cheetah. They are quite rare. They're a little bit different. They've got a lot more dark patterns. But like I say, very rare. And as far as I know, there's only the one cheetah species that you get. You see now coming down the road to our left is also a wildebeest, so we're quite interesting to see if he actually notices these. Oh, it looks like, as I said it, he has. He's carrying on. He does keep looking to the right where these cheetah are, so he might have caught scent of them or he's actually seen them. It'll be interesting to see what he does as he comes past that little thicket on the right there. We might get a little bit of an alarm call. He might actually go a little bit closer and investigate. Looks like he's crossing the road and heading in the direction of those two cheetah. Like I say, it'll be interesting to see what he does. He might alarm call now. He's only about 30-40 meters from these cheetah now. Jerome, you're asking, couldn't this wildebeest chase them off? He could. He probably could. That's why I say it'll be interesting to see the interaction we have here. He might do. But often it's only when they've got young. So this is a bull, a male wildebeest. I've seen it before when there's young. They'd often chase cheetah away. But I think he might weigh up the risk sort of rewards, and I don't think he'll actually chase them off. But like I say, if he wanted to, he probably could. He might just want to see what they're doing and then walk past. This is actually this bull's territory, so he might be doing a bit of a territorial boundary check, but he's definitely heading towards... Oh, a bit startled. Like I mentioned earlier, there's quite a bit of water there, so I don't know if he was actually heading just for a drink or he's heading straight for those cheetahs. It's going to be interesting to see what happens now on both the cheetah and the wildebeest side. There's the alarm call I mentioned earlier. Cheetah don't seem too bothered. I think they're just trying to get as much as they can in. Oh, there goes the wildebeest. He's had enough. So there you go, Jerome. There's your answer in this instance. No, wouldn't chase them off. Rather just get a good view of them. He's seen them and he's moving away. Don't seem too bothered by his alarm calling either, so we've been driving in this area most of the morning and I haven't actually seen any other wildebeest, and the only other plains game I saw were some impalas a little to our right there, so those alarm calls going a little bit in vain. I think he's the only one in the area. I actually think he was heading towards that water there. That's why he looked so startled when he got there. Gabby asking who is he alarm calling if he's just alone. I think it's just more of a natural instinct just to alarm call if anything is in the area. It's like there might be more wildebeest just on the other side of the thicket that'll hear him. But yeah, just a bit of an instinct thing. A natural reaction to give an alarm call as soon as they see a possible predator. Right, he's still giving it there. You can just hear in the distance he's giving an alarm call. Oh, that one cheetah's just stood up. They probably wouldn't be too happy with their attention they're getting it right now. I mentioned earlier the age of these cheetah, and I said they're around about 10 months old, and if you have a look behind the head, down the neck of that cheetah on the right, you can still see a little bit of like a mane running down there, very fluffy mane running down the back there. You'll just see if he turns his head to the side, you'll see it, giving away its age a little bit. There you go, as soon as it turns the head there, you can see it. Yeah, Heidi, you're saying you feel sorry for the cheetah. They've always got to be so alert. Yeah, you're 100% right. They do. And it's a tricky one for them because, like I mentioned, they generally drag their kills or their carcass into a bit of a thick area to hide it from any sort of vultures or bateliers or even just any other predator. But that also does compromise them. They prefer more open areas where they can use their speed to get away. A little bit more difficult for them to get away in thicker areas. They can't use their speed as much. So yeah, a little bit more vulnerable in the thicker areas, and they have to be a bit more aware. But that being said, we spoke about it earlier, they are thriving here in Phinda. They are very predator savvy, especially the older cheetahs. But I think for now, what we're going to do, we might go a little bit more forward and see if we can get a better view of that carcass. And I think we'll stick around this area for a couple more minutes.
Our lives are dictated by alarm clocks, traffic jams, constant multitasking, and countless distractions. The wilderness is where many of us feel the most human. On a bushwalk, we become part of the natural landscape. As you step off the vehicle, everything comes alive. As with any risky experience, walking amongst these animals inspires awe and appreciation. Now, it's your turn to go on a bushwalk. Join us from Pride Lands as we slow down our thoughts, put aside our distractions, and reconnect with a place that first taught us how to be human. Staying one step ahead is the key to survival out in the African wild. And now you can stay in front of the pack with a WildEarth weekly newsletter. Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer and you will get exclusive behind-the-scenes stories about your favorite guides and camera operators. Information about our upcoming plans and projects will be delivered to your inbox every week before anyone else. And you can hone your guiding skills by taking part in our Identify Me nature quizzes. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
My name is Taylor McCurdy and I work for Eco Training. I love hearing from all of the viewers. However, I particularly enjoy those of you who have been watching for a few years. Your questions are just so advanced and they really get me thinking. If you'd like to ask a question on WildEarth, you need to register on our website. Once you've done that, head to the live safari page and submit your questions below the live feed.
What are you looking at, man? That's its gangster face. It has the manners of a common variety vagabond. Look at it, chewing with its mouth open like that.
Welcome back, everyone. I've just moved forward about another 10-15 meters, trying to get a better view and a better idea of what exactly they've managed to catch there, but it looks like that grass is a bit too long for us to make out exactly what it is. Just before we moved, it looked like the one was actually going to go for a drink, but I see now it's gone back to the carcass and lied down. One of them might actually lift their head again, like they have been doing, just having a bit of a scan. Mandy, you're asking a really good question. You're asking, would they leave if the vultures were to turn up? Probably, I think they would get their full first. It wouldn't move as soon as the vultures arrived, if they still were trying to get a little bit more in. I think, though, if a large number came and it would attract quite a lot of attention, they would probably then move off. But I think only if they really are forced to and they felt it is attracting too much attention. They will try and eat as much as they can, as quickly as they can, and they would then move away. So you can see every now and then a flick of the ear and a flash of their little mane behind their heads. They're eating quite frantically. You can just see the backside of the carcass. It looks like they're now trying to get to the softer bits around the rib cage. Oh, I see that one's just started poking his head up, had a look at us over here. So special to see them here. Ooh, always lovely seeing cheetah. Oh, there we go. There, the one stands up. You can clearly see that mane I was talking about a bit earlier. Lovely. But I think, at least for us in the WildEarth team that'll be it this morning, we're going to probably just try and get another view. And thank you everyone for joining this morning. And we look forward to seeing you this afternoon again.